using his freedom of speech to its fullest extent. It's Jon James and Freedom's Pep Rally. Now, America's friendliest host, your buddy, Jon James.
I was at a school event the other night, Larry, watching my grandson play basketball, and the people in the audience, and there weren't a lot of us, everybody had to wear a mask. I was there for an hour, and I was just so uncomfortable and miserable wearing the mask. I wouldn't have changed it because I'm going to see my grandson play, but putting these kids in masks for 7 or 8 hours a day is child abuse. Do you agree?
Well, this morning I turned on the Lane and Wake of Bob Dole just to see what was going on. I wanted to see the dinosaurs. It was like Jurassic Park.
Right, yeah.
Sitting there, basically. And they're all wearing masks. I mean, it's just a charade. I mean, they're supposed to be vaccinated. Of course, we know now that vaccines, and they're not vaccines at all, don't even work.
Right.
The whole thing's just a dog and pony show. As Woody Allen might say, it's a travesty of a mockery of two travesties of a mockery of a sham.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're going through today.
It really is.
It's surreal. It's surreal. And watching these senators look like they were, they're crocodile tears, and I feel bad for Bob Dole and his wife.
Right.
He did what he could. He wasn't, the greatest senator in the world. He was a compromiser. I'm a Barry Goldwater type. Compromise in the face of liberty is no virtue, frankly.
Right.
But it is sad because these people at least love this country. And the current people that were sitting there, at least half of them hate this country. And they're pretending that, Bob Dole was a great person. They hated Bob Dole. And they hated Republicans, and they hated conservatives, and they hated people of faith. And they still do. And it's really sad. It's just a very sad time in this country right now. And that's why we have to rise up. We have to take the country back ourselves. We cannot depend on our so-called government. It is corrupt. All three branches of government are corrupt to the core. And the worst, from my experience as a lawyer going on 45 years, are the federal judges. And that's why I wrote my book, It Takes a Revolution, Forget the Scandal Industry. It's dedicated to Jefferson. He said, federal judges and Supreme Court justices, unelected, there for life, would become despots and tyrants, causing us to shed the blood of patriots and tyrants yet again every 20 years or so. He didn't want to see people hurt. He didn't want to see violence. Neither do I, neither do you. But that's where we're headed, unfortunately, if things don't change. And that's why I have these peaceful and legal means to try to now wage what's a counter-revolution, because the left has taken total control. And we're living in a socialist, borderline communist dictatorship as we speak.
We are. And the thing is, nobody, the people don't realize it. And the left certainly doesn't. They're in complete denial of everything that is American and free and constitutional. But a lot of people on the right, a lot of the people in our own Congress, who are the so-called rhinos, Republican in name only, are not standing up for us. They aren't doing what they should be doing. You've got very few that are, and when they do, obviously, you've got the far leftists, the Marxists, the Squad, the AOCs, the Ilhan Omars, the Rashida Tlaibs, trying to get them taken off their committee assignments and expelled in some cases from Congress. So this is absolutely way beyond the pale, and this book is going to help us learn how to fight this peacefully, right?
Well, yes, and one of the ways that we're doing that, and people can tune in today at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, to our Citizens Grand Jury at freedomwatchusa.org. We have indicted Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and his son and his brother James for bribery from Communist China, Ukraine, and Russia. Biden for negligent homicide in Afghanistan. He killed 10 innocent Afghan workers with 7 kids. These were our allies because he wanted to look tough after 13 of our hero GIs were killed. We've indicted Robert Mueller. We've indicted Fauci. These people are going to be tried. We have the right to do it. In 1992, John, the late, great Supreme Court justices, one of the few great ones, frankly, in modern history, maybe the only, ruled in a case, United States versus Williams, Antonin Scalia, that
Right.
the grand jury belongs to the American people, not to the three branches of government. Before 1870, the American people meted out justice themselves under not just man-made law, but the law of nature and nature's God, as it says in our Constitution, that when the rulers no longer represent the people, we have a right under the laws of nature and nature's God to alter or abolish that government and to form a new government by and for the people with equal rights for everyone in pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. That's a paraphrase of what Jefferson and the others wrote, and then, ratified on July 4th, 1776. We need also to declare independence again. We need to set up a new government, give the people an alternative. This government is corrupt. I'm tired of seeing whether it's Jim Jordan with his rolled up sleeves or Tom Cotton or Lindsey Graham when he comes out of his closet every now and then, go on TV and say, this is what we're going to do. They don't do anything. I mean, all they do is raise money. How many emails are you getting every day? Acquire more power, and they prance around Washington with their $5,000 suits, their gold cufflinks, and their congressional pins, thinking that they're superior to the rest of the American people. In all the years that I was in Washington, and I'm no longer there, but I unfortunately have to go every now and then for what I do, I never saw one congressman or senator take $1 out of his pocket for lunch. If you go to lunch, they expect you to pay for them. And it's unbelievable. And they're allowed to do that. They make the rules. They can engage in insider trading. And that's how they become millionaires, notwithstanding the bribes that many of them get under the table. They're not responsible. They have their own healthcare system. They don't care about the rest of the country. And look at the Republicans. When they've been in control of all three branches, what have they done? Little to nothing. They couldn't reform Obamacare. They didn't balance the budget. They knew what was going to happen in Afghanistan because they got national security briefings. They wanted it to happen. So when you see Tom Cotton and the rest of them come on TV, including Kevin McCarthy, who spends more time, living with a man, Frank Luntz, according to Tucker Carlson in Washington, D.C., when they're smiling. McCarthy's smiling all the time. What's to smile about right now? They're smiling because they think they're going to retain power. They're going to get back power and more money. And consequently, we have no Republican Party that is an opposition party in practice. And we, the American people, need to rise up if you care about your kids and grandkids, just like our founding fathers did. And one last thought. I know I'm hogging this up.
No, please.
But ask yourself this question. Who is worse? The current President of the United States, as alleged, because I'm not convinced that he was elected properly and fairly.
Right. Yep.
Or King George III. King George III simply wanted to overtax us to pay for the rest of his empire. When we rebelled, the Boston Tea Party at Lexington and Concord, he tried to take our guns away from us. Then he took our legal system away from us. But King George III was not a socialist. King George III was not a communist. King George III was not an atheist. King George III was not a radical Muslim. He was not a radical member of the Marxian Jewish left, and I'm a Jewish Christian, so no one can say I'm anti-Semitic, but these people are destructive, not just of this country, but of the Jewish people and of Israel. They're Marxists. He was not a radical gay, lesbian, transgender, or transsexual. He was not a radical black. He was not a radical feminist. These people are far worse than King George III. King George III was Mother Teresa compared to these people. And they've destroyed our country. And I've got, people in my own family say, Larry, you're 70 years old now. I hope I don't look that old.
You don't.
But why don't you just retire, and run it out? They sit there counting their shekels, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to cash in right now. But if you care about your kids and grandkids and future generations, you can't sit there on the couch being entertained by Sean Hannity. You have to get up off the couch and do something, whether it's joining with Freedom Watch at freedomwatchusa.org or my other group that I form with Sheriff Joe Arpaio to protect the police and to cut down on crime, americasheriff.org, or do something else. And if you don't do it, we're going to be in a bloody, violent revolution very, very soon.
That's,
Very soon.
That's a fact. And nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see that. And nobody on the left sees it coming. They they're clueless. Their heads are perennially buried in the sand as all of this unfolds around them. They watch their MSNBC or their CNN or their Lester Holt or their David Muir or their Norah O'Donnell, and they take whatever they're spoon-fed and they just echo whatever they are told to echo on social media. They get the rest of their leftist friends all amped up, and they come out after you, claws out, and they attack you and cancel you if you say anything against the Biden administration.
Right, but but at this point, it doesn't matter even if you're canceled, because right now we need more than talk.
Yeah.
Okay. And I thank God for people like you, John, and I have my own podcast every morning. You get it at freedomwatchusa.org, our radio show at Radio America, which you can also get at freedomwatchusa.org. We can get out and we can talk to the people. We don't want to see violence. What I'm suggesting is that Jefferson's prophecy will come true if the American people don't rise up now. The left and Biden and Harris, who are their stooges, okay, going with Pelosi and Schumer. Schumer's sitting there this morning with Bob Dole with little crocodile tears. I mean, this guy is a slimy criminal.
He is.
Here's what I'm talking about of the Marxian Jewish left.
Right.
Okay. Nadler, Schiff, Engel, Blumenthal, my own people. Okay. They're not my people.
Right.
Okay? And I don't want, and I rail against them because I don't want people to become anti-Semitic.
Right.
But these people are vile human beings, and they're trying to destroy this country.
They are.
Pelosi, and the others are the same. And the Republicans sit there, just going on Fox News, raising money, doing this and that, but not taking any real action. The American people need to take action. The Democrats, which has become the party infested by the devil, have a 5-part plan, and it's working. Number one, take total control over the American people, using COVID-19 as the excuse.
Right.
Put us in a dictatorship. 2, turn the FBI and the Justice Department, my once proud alma mater, into a Gestapo.
Yep.
And quell all dissent. 3, dump trillions of dollars into the economy so people don't want to work, and create massive inflation to destroy the economy so you can now take it into your socialist communist world. 4, destroy Judeo-Christian values and ethics and brainwash the kids. Teach them that homosexuality, transgenderism, transsexualism, and the rest are normal, it's neat, it's cool. And if your kid comes home from school and says, hey, mommy or daddy, I want to be a transsexual, take him to a doctor or take him to a surgeon because Obamacare will pay for the operation. They actually teach this stuff. I heard it on NPR, a few weeks ago. And then 5, destroy our national security, our military, and we see the consequences now.
Right.
With, the likelihood that some catastrophe is going to happen in Ukraine, in Taiwan, and God forbid that we have a nuclear accident or something happens. I mean, we haven't seen the worst of it yet. Who do we have in charge of this country? Court jesters, fools, and criminals.
Right.
Court jesters, fools, and criminals, and that goes for the Republicans too. I am a registered Republican, but I'm quitting. And I ran as a senator in Florida back in 2003 and 2004. I wasn't suited for that. Better from without. And you need to do it from without, because we don't have a government right now that is by and for the people. We need a new government, not a new nation. We need a new government.
Right.
And we need to come up with real leaders who can relate to the American people, as our founding fathers did. Someone like Ronald Reagan as president. Someone with the strength of a Trump, but who doesn't piss everybody off.
Right.
Okay?
Well,
who can actually communicate. On that.
Yeah.
It doesn't unnecessarily create controversy that you don't need to create. Walk softly and carry a big stick like Teddy Roosevelt. That's what we need. And then we need, to fine-tune the Constitution, take immunity away from federal government officials and judges who gave it to themselves. They're above the law. They do what they want. They can't be held accountable.
Amen.
Put a right to life in the Constitution to make it clear. Let's clear that up.
Yep.
Incorporate the 10 Commandments into the Constitution. because that's the basis of our legal system.
Yep.
And there are lots of things that we can be doing, but we can't be sitting around listening to Sean Hannity give the same monologue every night with a martini with your feet up on a coffee table, eating popcorn and guacamole and chips,
Wow.
So, or maybe if Tlaib and Omar, take hold in a greater extent, we'll all be eating hummus all the time. I don't know. But this is something that, actually, I like hummus. But
nothing wrong with hummus.
Yeah, I like hummus. So,
wow.
I try to use a little humor, Sean, every now and then.
I love that.
You have to laugh or you got to cry.
You do, absolutely.
But now it's time for action.
Yeah, absolutely. Larry Klayman, It Takes a Revolution, Forget the Scandal Industry, founder of Judicial Watch, chairman of Freedom Watch. And you say freedomwatchusa.org at 2 o'clock Eastern, 11 o'clock Pacific, right?
Yeah, today we'll be seeking the indictment of Ilhan Omar. We have Laura Loomer, who's got the goods on her.
Oh, she's awesome.
Down there in
she's
Florida.
Awesome.
She's my client. She's my friend.
Yep.
She's been much maligned, attacked.
Yep.
Literally by Tlaib, physically assaulted. We got a video of that, and Omar was there in the room, egging her on.
Yep.
These people need to be removed peacefully and legally. John, I say 4 years ago or so, maybe longer. I filed a complaint. Excuse me. The Department of Homeland Security, the immigration, ICE, to investigate her because she should be deported. She got her citizenship through fraud, having married her brother. She committed fraud for her brother. She's committed tax fraud. She's committed Federal Election Commission fraud.
Yep.
And even the Trump administration just sat on it, and they never did anything. It's still there. So we're going to indict Ilhan Omar.
Good.
And that'll be done starting today, and then we'll follow it up next week with a formal indictment, and she will be tried. We cannot be afraid of these people. She's, tied in with terrorist interests, and so is Tlaib, and we know that. It's not in dispute.
So Lauren Boebert, in her joking the other day about her being a jihadist and, not having a backpack on, I have been saying all along, that was into everybody on the left is saying, well, that was horrible. She's going to be stripped of her committee assignments. And I'm thinking, what she said is mostly true. And Ilhan Omar is not even here legally. As you said, she married her brother, and there was all sorts of behind the scenes stuff going on there, and the election fraud that went on. We saw the guy on Project Veritas with a trunkload of ballots, presumably for Ilhan Omar there in Minneapolis. And this goes very, very deep. And she is just one of the many, right, Larry?
Yeah, and the Republicans sit around. I mean, Kevin McCarthy, how this guy is the heir apparent to become Speaker of the House. And in the words of Hillary Clinton, which were disgusting, vile, and outrageous with regard to Benghazi, if you talk about the Republicans regaining power, the phrase, what difference does it make, really rings true. Kevin McCarthy is an idiot. And, when they were investigating Hillary Clinton over Benghazi, he told the media, we're just doing it to politically harm Hillary Clinton. I mean, a real genius, okay? And I know you see him, he just recently gave an 8-hour, 32-minute speech.
Yeah.
Excuse me, over Bob Dole's Build Back Worse plan, right? I mean, who cares? Who wants to listen to him? That doesn't do anything.
Right.
So this is where we are today. I mean, Joe Manchin has more courage than any Republican does. And these Republicans are basically a bunch of cowards.
Yeah. No, there's no question about that. So I've got to ask you about I talk a lot about this, and I've been talking a lot about the book by Miranda Devine of the New York Post, The Laptop from Hell. This laptop, which some of the news outlets, I don't know if MSNBC and Joy the Raging Racist Reed is still saying it or not, but they have been saying all along, and still are some of them, that it's Russia disinformation. This has been corroborated. This laptop is authentic, and it indicts Joe Biden as well as Hunter Biden and Jim Biden in being complicit with China and making money from China, the big guy, 10% for the big guy. This is all provable now, right?
It's more than provable. Excuse me, I apologize, sir.
No, that's fine.
It's kind of damp here today.
Yep.
But, yeah, it's provable. But, this is what happens. The elite, the powerful protect each other. It's like the National Football League, the American Conference, the National Conference. There, by the grace of God, go thee. So they play the game. You got people like John Durham who haven't done squat, who indict a lower-level person, some lawyer, but they don't bother with Hillary Clinton, who's behind the whole thing. And they won't indict Joe Biden. Hunter Biden goes off and sells artwork, which he didn't even paint. I mean, somebody else painted it for $500,000 a shot. And they know they're completely immune. They're protected species.
Yeah.
They protect each other. And that's where we are. We have this new American nobility. And you might remember what happened in France when there was a nobility. And Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette, who said, après moi le déluge. I speak French. I was a French major. Dude.
My family's
and,
my family's
what it
French.
meant was, after me, I could care less.
Yeah.
Well, what happened to them? They were taken to the guillotine, and their heads were lopped off. I don't want to get to that point, but that's the attitude today of the rich and the powerful and the elite in Washington, D.C. We are better than you. We're smarter than you. You, the American people, be damned. After us, the flood. And we're going to cash in now. And that's exactly what happens. Go to Washington, D.C. See how rich Washington is. See the buildings that are going up continuously. What do they accomplish there? These federal workers, as just one example, aren't even going to work. They're working at their house watching daytime TV and on the internet right now. We're paying for that. And they've never done much. You could cut the government probably by 3/4, and it wouldn't make any difference. Keep national security and health and welfare to the extent that it applies to people that really need it. But the rest of it, no, it's a joke. And the district court in Washington, D.C., where I've practiced now for 44 years, is the most corrupt court in this country. Look at what they're doing to the January 6th peaceful protesters, throwing them in prison.
Right.
Whether you agree with QAnon or the QAnon shaman wearing a headdress, the fact is that all the guy did was walk into the Capitol, escorted by a Capitol Police, who are basically on our side, by the way, and the judge that I used to admire and made many good rulings for me when I founded and ran Judicial, that's Royce Lambert, gave him 41 months, 3.5 years, just to set an example for everybody else. And the other judges, they're all doing the same thing. They get together in their lunchroom or wherever, and they stir their cauldrons, the witches and warlocks of that court, and they say, we're going to put these people away. And you know why they do it? Because they know they're next.
Yeah.
Because the American people saw exactly just how corrupt the judiciary was up close and personal when President Trump could not even get a hearing from his own Supreme Court justice.
Right.
They betrayed him. They stabbed him in the back. And he is delusional. He's still out there bragging about it.
Yeah.
And they'll do it again. And as much as I supported him, and we were in effect his law firm at Freedom Watch de facto. Other lawyers didn't do much of anything. They just got dragged along. And I'm not saying that we could do much about it either, given the situation with these judges.
Right.
The fact is that he's not coming back. People have to understand that, because the minute he would declare for president again, these dishonest, rabid, corrupt prosecutors in New York City and in Washington, D.C. will indict him, Don Jr., Eric, for tax fraud and tax evasion. And can you imagine Trump being tried before a New York or D.C. jury? He'll spend the next few years just trying to keep himself out of prison. That's how vicious these people are.
Yeah.
And, and I supported what he did. And I thank him for that, but it's all been undone. Now it's time for the American people to do it for themselves. I always say at the end of my podcast, John, the Father and the Son will only help us if we help ourselves. We have to do it ourselves now. There's no political messiah.
Absolutely. Now, I've got to ask you, going back to January 6th here for a minute. We've got this QAnon shaman who was harmless, as we saw. I've seen two movies inside January 6th. One is Capital Punishment, produced by Nick Searcy and Chris Burgard, and one is the one that Tucker Carlson did, Patriot Purge. And it shows literally millions of people surrounding the Capitol and what really went on there. It also shows up close and personal, and I forget which movies had the all of the views of Ashley Babbitt being literally murdered by Robert Byrd with no warning. Clear, he didn't issue any warning. He wasn't under any threat for his life. We saw a guy get pushed by Capitol Police off a balcony. We've seen Ann Boyland. I forget her first name. Killed, beaten by the Capitol Police, and another guy hit by, I guess, some sort of a concussion grenade, having a heart attack. And they say deadly insurrection on all of your mainstream networks, but the only people who died were supporters of the president at the hands of the police.
You know what? We don't even have to apologize for it. We don't have to apologize for it. First of all, it wasn't an insurrection. It was an uprising.
Right, exactly.
It was a warning shot across the bow. It was a miniature storming of the Bastille in France on July 14, 1789. And it was primarily peaceful. It was a warning. Shape up or ship out, because next time it's going to be a lot worse.
Right.
And the fact is, that is our capital. It's not a trespass. The police let us in. The dirty little secret here is that the police were maligned. Yes, some of them properly were by a couple bad people, okay, on both sides. But by and large, the police were on the side of the peaceful protesters. And most people were peaceful. Most people did not destroy property. And that is our capital. We have as much right to be there as the senators that are sitting there in the rotunda right now, honoring Bob Dole. And the fact is that the military, when we get our convictions of Biden and his son Hunter and James and the others, we're going to ask the police and the military to carry out the sentences. They've had it. They've had it. In the most left-leaning state of California and 48 other states, when you know someone committing a felony, as a citizen, you have a right to arrest them, and you can turn them over to law enforcement. We're not even doing that. We're saying we're going to legitimately have a trial. We're going to seek convictions. We're going to sentence. I actually have a judge who is a former administrative law judge, very fair person. We'll have jury next week on the 15th. We're going to have the arraignment for Biden, Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and James Biden. They can plead. They probably won't show up. We'll enter a not guilty plea for them. They can come to the trial. They can defend themselves. They won't do that. We'll have to try them in abstention in all likelihood. They're going to have the opportunity. And they have to recognize the rights of the American people to hold them accountable. And the laws of nature and nature's God and man-made law, when it coincides with nature and nature's God. There's a lot of unjust man-made laws that come out there. But the military, over 140 retired admirals and generals about 3 months ago, sent a letter to Joe Biden. It wasn't widely publicized. Left didn't want to talk about it. They told Biden either he shape up or ship out. And they said, we're not going to let this country be turned into a communist state. I don't want to see a coup d'etat. They don't either. But I don't think we're far away from having the military, who was disrespected, dishonored, and killed in Afghanistan, the rank and file, not the political hack.
Right.
Mark Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, yep. That clown, Lloyd Austin, our affirmative action, defense secretary.
Right. Lloyd Austin, yeah.
The actual rank and file, I don't think we're far away from having them go to the White House and say your time is up. I really don't.
That is something I've thought of a lot. And is this why they are trying to take out of the military anybody who might turn against them, and they're only trying to keep their cohorts, the people who will stand up for the leftists in the military? I mean, for example, as you know, anybody who is determined to be without anything except hearsay, that somebody is racist, that somebody is transphobe, that somebody is, whatever they decide is wrong, they will pull them out. Is the military being, diminished by these edicts from Lloyd Austin and General Milley?
And let's look at the other side of the coin. And Trump was right about this. We send our kids off to war for political purposes. We don't support them.
Right.
They get slaughtered, they get maimed, they get killed. Over 22 of our servicemen commit suicide every single day.
Yes, they do.
I think it's higher now, actually, after what happened in Afghanistan, because they realize that their friends and their colleagues and themselves sacrificed themselves for no reason at all, because we didn't accomplish anything. In fact, we made it worse.
Yeah.
And, and George W. Bush was an idiot, okay, in my opinion. With what he did in Iraq.
Yeah.
He turned Iraq into greater Iran, which is worse. The Iranians are in control of Iraq right now. So all these people gave their lives for, of course, Obama was even worse than W, and Biden was there too. But they gave their lives for no reason. And how would you feel if you were a parent? I represent many Gold Star parents, the victims of Extortion 17, of Benghazi, Charles Woods, and Sean Smith's mother, Pat Smith. How would you feel if your kid died and someone like Biden just walked away in Afghanistan and said, F it, we're done.
Yeah, exactly. And then looks at his watch as the caskets of the fallen are taken off at Dover Air Force Base. He's just a deplorable human being. We're talking with Larry Klayman, author of It Takes a Revolution, Forget the Scandal Industry, and founder of Judicial Watch, chairman at Freedom Watch, freedomwatchusa.org. If you want to see the Ilhan Omar fun begin at 2 o'clock this afternoon Eastern, 11 o'clock Pacific. Now, I always sit back and I marvel at how many different means they have to their ultimate end, which of course is Marxism and communism. We aren't going to dress it up by calling it democratic socialism. It is it is not. It's communism. But they have they're trying to take our guns. They are trying to remove the complete borders on our southern border while they protect the Ukrainian border. They are doing deals with China. They are telling us we need to get the climate under control in 10 years or we're all going to die. And they are trying to make us a globalist society with John Kerry and his Great Reset. I mean, they have so many different tentacles on this thing. It's really hard to keep up with it. And it makes you wonder when is the right going to say enough is enough and all hell is going to break loose?
Who is the right?
Right. Yeah.
Who's the right? We're the right.
We are the
not
right.
The clowns in Congress.
Right.
They're not the right. They're a bunch of phonies.
Exactly.
Many of them worked against Trump. Let's look at the American Conservative Union with Matt Schlapp. Okay,
right.
I call him Matt Schlapp. Schlapp. Yeah. Okay, in Yiddish. Okay, you know what schlock is?
Yeah.
It's garbage. Yeah. Okay. Matt. He was vehemently anti-Trump. They supported Ted Cruz and others. But when Trump won, he became a great Trump supporter because that brings in money to American Conservative Union.
Right.
Mark Levin, very anti-Trump. Ben Shapiro, very anti-Trump. There are a lot of phonies in the conservative movement. Glenn Beck hated Trump. Hated. Now they're great fans of Trump because it brings in the change. It jingles the change. Right. So, you got to be true to your principles. And I don't play the game. You don't play the game. There are others out there that will not play the game.
Right.
Our founding fathers didn't play the game. They didn't suck up to King George III. They tried to reason with him, but when he couldn't be reasoned with, they declared independence. And they did it peacefully and legally. Okay, as they point out in the Declaration of Independence, which I think is the most beautiful document ever written. It incorporates the Bible in it, really.
Yeah.
And it's even more moving than the Bible, but it is the Bible in many ways. It's the fruits of it. And they went their own way. And then the king declared war on us. And then the colonialists fought back. They were armed. They had the rights of self-defense, just like Kyle Rittenhouse. And, I'm saying to people right now, these smash and grabs and the crime and this and that, use your rights of self-defense. Don't start it, but finish it. And that's the only way they're going to learn.
Yeah.
If they start it and you feel in fear of immediate bodily injury or death,
right,
you blow their friggin' head off.
Yeah,
That's what you should do.
Amen. Amen, Larry. You are 100% correct. And the left's head, you see all of these smash and grabs there in California. It's unbelievable. They're going in, they're smashing, they're running out, they're masked, they're covered, and nobody's doing a damn thing because they're afraid. They're afraid they're going to be demonized and put on trial and have the book thrown at them, and that's a bad way to have to go through life in America.
People are going to have to defend themselves even from that.
Yeah.
If you go out and you kill a minority and you're white, you're guilty until proven
right.
innocent.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
But we're going to have to take that risk, regardless of who it is: white, black, green, yellow, or blue. And one of the movies that I like the most is Wyatt Earp with Kevin Costner. Most people like Tombstone. Yeah. I like the one with Kevin Costner. And there's a trailer. Go out on the internet and find it. Little Wyatt is on horseback going through the cornfields. His father catches up to him. His father was a judge, played by Gene Hackman. And Gene Hackman says to him, "Where are you going?" And he says, "Well, I'm going to join my brothers, Virgil and Morgan, in the Civil War." He says, "You're not going anywhere. Okay, you're too young. There will come a time and place." He says, "But I want to tell you, Wyatt," this is Wyatt's father, "you will encounter some really vicious, bad people in your life. And when you do, you strike first and you shoot to kill." And I'm not saying that you start it. You don't go around looking for trouble. But if trouble finds you and you feel in fear of immediate bodily injury or death, then you shoot to kill.
Absolutely.
And that's the only way they're going to learn.
Amen.
It's the only way they're going to learn.
Well, Richard Daley, back in 1968 Chicago, juxtapose it to Lori Lightfoot in Chicago. Now, Richard Daley, a Democrat, said, if somebody is looting, you see somebody looting, you see somebody committing arson, the cops, he says, here's the order for the cops. You shoot to kill. Period. You shoot to maim
you have
or
a right.
kill.
Somebody comes into your home or your place of business.
Yep.
And you have that fear.
Boom.
And you have the right to do it. And that's
Amen.
The only way that they're going to learn, because you've got these prosecutors now. Larry Krasner, elected with the money of George Soros, a self-hating Jew who collaborated with the Nazis with his father, confiscating their property, sending them to their death in concentration camps and ovens. Krasner, Soros sponsored, district attorney in my native city of Philadelphia, where I was born, says, "Oh, there's no violent crime here. Oh, there's no here." Gascon in L.A., same thing. Yep. Soros supported. The legal system no longer exists for the American people.
It doesn't.
Not the establishment, but our own legal system exists. And that's why, in our Second Amendment, it gives us the right to bear arms. It gives us the right to commission militias to use against the tyranny of government. Militia is not a dirty word, as long as the militia acts legally.
Amen.
The laws of nature, nature's God, and man-made law when it coincides.
Yep.
The founding fathers said, we have a right to commission militias. And that's what we should be doing right now. Not crazy people, not people that just want to hurt people for the sake thereof, but people that are interested in real self-defense. Because we don't have a legal system. I can tell you, a lawyer of 45 years, it is the most corrupt profession in this country and throughout the world. You want to know why we have the problems with the politicians? Because 90% of them are lawyers. What did Mark Twain say? What's the difference between a prostitute and a lawyer? At least you get something of value from the prostitute. And Ronald Reagan said, it's the second oldest profession, which gives the oldest profession a bad name.
Yeah, yeah.
And
wow.
And it is true.
Yeah.
The legal profession is the root cause of the problem here.
Yep.
And now you got bar associations like the District of Columbia in New York, not all of them, but in those two very leftist areas, trying to eliminate conservative lawyers and others, whether it's Giuliani or whether it's Kellyanne Conway or Ted Cruz or me or others. because they don't want us to be able to fight back, even in their corrupt legal system. And they all give to Democrats, and every aspect of society has been taken over by the left. Every aspect.
Well,
so we have to fight back.
Amen, Larry Klayman. I see it hitting the fan soon. I really do. And it's scary, but it's necessary. And I hope it does end peacefully. I really do. But this is some territory we've never encountered before as Americans, at least in our lifetimes. And I think it's coming to a head sooner rather than later.
Well, it is. At the time, I founded Judicial Watch in 1994. When I left to run for the Senate, I established FreedomWatchUSA.org after that.
Yep.
Things were bad, but they weren't like they are now. And we've hit a stage 4 cancerous state. We are terminal.
Yeah.
Our government is irreparably cancerous.
Yep.
So we just have to form a new one. Let it die on the vine. Let's give the people an alternative, a choice. I'm forming a new political party. We need more political parties, a separate organization called New American Independence Party. You'll read about that shortly.
Yep.
We need competition. We need new ideas. We need new people. We need people, like maybe they'll join us. Maybe people like Tulsi Gabbard or Manchin or Sarah Palin or Michelle Bachmann or other people who tried to play the game with the corrupt people of the Republican Party or the Democrat Party and couldn't play the game, and they knew what it was all about. They saw it. And,
we need
maybe
more.
Manchin would be a good presidential candidate. Let's hope he holds up.
Yeah.
But, and he's currently a Democrat. The only reason he stays a Democrat is so he gets media. Okay.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because he's a unique character. Okay?
Right. Yeah.
He's not a Democrat.
You never see people
but there are no real Republicans anymore. The last real Republican was Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
He was the last one.
Yeah. You're so right. We're out of time. Larry, I could do this all day. You're amazing. You're really amazing. And you speak our language just the way we like to hear it. Unapologetically, direct, and no filters. And that's the way we got to do it, buddy.
John, send me the link to this and I'll get it out myself. We have a pretty broad reach. But
I sure will.
We have to really rally the troops here quickly because, Moses, and this is my last thought. You think this pandemic and everything that's going on just happened coincidentally?
No.
Let's go back to ancient Egypt when God wanted his people to be set free. What did he do? He sent plagues into Egypt. He sent locusts. He killed the firstborn son of each Egyptian until the Pharaoh finally said, you can take off. Then he chased them into the Red Sea. It took Moses 40 years to find the promised land. We don't have 40 years.
No, we don't.
We have months.
Yep. No, you're right.
Things go a lot more quickly today.
Yeah.
But do you think God's sitting around doing nothing when you kill hundreds of millions of babies? You don't think he's not sending a warning shot to us?
Exactly.
And everything else that's going on?
Exactly.
That, you have become so corrupt, you people, that, here you're going to cease to exist unless you shape up or ship out. And I can assure you he's with us if we accept him and his son.
Yep.
And if we invoke divine providence, that's what our founding fathers did. They could not have won without the grace of God. And that's our big salvation. But we have to be brave. And we have to carry out his word.
We do. Larry Klayman, you're a great man. You're a great American. I appreciate your time, and I hope we can do it again. And this certainly will be rebroadcast. I appreciate everything you're doing. And FreedomWatchUSA.org at 2 today, 11 Pacific, 2 Eastern. And this is all about Ilhan Omar today, right?
Yeah, it's Ilhan Omar Fest.
I will be there, buddy.
Listen, I look forward to seeing you, and thank you, and you do a great service to the American people. So
thank you, Larry. So do you. You have a great day. Bye, sir.
Thank you.
Larry Klayman.
Good day.
What an amazing guy.